Well, with two different winners yesterday, Lehouk and Stahora yesterday, could we make it three different winners out of three as we get ready for the final heat for KZ2 and KZ2 Masters? Here's your starting grid. Jeffrey Fixer starts from pole position. Kevin Stahora alongside on the front row. Enzo Boll and Charlie Turner, row 2. Christian de Klein and Jens Troyer, row 3. Nina Pothoff and Sam van der Schuilen round out row 4, with Daniel Tenbach and Dion van Verven completing the top 10. Renzo Aligbas and Armin Pierre round out row 6. Rune de Broeke and Thierry Del Rey, row 7. Arthur Lehouk and Jarno Opmeer, row 8. Row 9, Cedric Collars and Mickey Bertram, with Tom Braken and William Klooster rounding out the top 20. Completing the 25-strong grid are Gil Mertens, Dan Zopfi, Mark Verhoeven, Dirk van Silfhout and Siep Kuipers. 10 minutes on the clock plus an additional lap will then decide who will be our third race winner in KZ2 and KZ2 Masters. The only classes that will do a standing start. And we had plenty of action out on this 1,360 metre 12-turn anti-clockwise circuit. Seems like the chat has come alive quite a bit earlier than anticipated this morning. But it is an absolute treat to watch this kind of competition. 6-speed shifter karts, blistering performance, and we saw plenty of great overtaking over the past two races. I'm not expecting anything less here for Heat 3. Of course, after this, we'll then get the ranking after the heats, and thereby determine what will the grid look like for the Super Heat at 12:25 this afternoon. KZ2 and KZ2 Masters will be the last class to close out the Champions Winter Trophy at 3:40 p.m. Central European time this afternoon. So drivers starting to weave from side to side, trying to build a little bit of heat into the rear tyres, because you're going to need that for the sheer brutal traction that these karts develop. So the procedure will be as follows. We'll have our flag marshal at the front. Well, our race director is actually at the front of the grid holding the red flag. Once the green flag waves at the back of it, we'll be ready to set the red lights in motion. When all 4 lights go out, we will be starting the race. And this is the crucial point. The engines are being revved to keep the temperatures up, to keep them circulating. Right then. Green flag waves at the back. The 4 red lights will now start to ignite. There they are, and we're underway and racing. Let's see who gets the run down into turn 1. It's going to be. It's not going to be that. It might be possible. Well, we've got someone that's just gone completely off the circuit on the run down to turns 1 and 2. However, the rest of the field are. Well, it's getting a bit dicey early doors through turn 4. As the field makes its way in towards turn 6, and then onto the famed Europalan. These karts will be pushing well over 120 plus kilometers an hour at the very least. Then be hard on the brakes, down the gearbox, probably 2 at least second. Then try and rotate the kart through. Someone's made a bit of an outside overtake through turn 7 as they go through the sweeper at 8. A lot of drivers just trying to gauge what's happening with the conditions, even though they've had the morning warm-up. When you go under full-blown race conditions, it's a completely different story altogether. So Kevin Stahora took the race lead on the start and dropped Jeffrey Fixer behind. Charlie Turner looks to have gotten up into P3, and he's got, well, I think it's the 842 Jens Troyer not too far behind. Christian de Klein looks to have gotten through, so the good thing is we now have a few drivers making some moves up the order. Nina Potov has just dropped to 10th place, having started 8th. There is a bit of mud that's been dragged onto the circuit. So some making headway, others trying to just get through this final heat. And there is going to be a move here. That is going to be on the 8.55. I think that was more than likely Nina Potov that might have just got through in the 8.33 on the Birol Art chassis. As that was a bit of a squeeze there by the 8.99 of Christian de Klein on the 8.42 of Jens Troyer. Out of turn number 8, just behind them, they've got Renzo Alibax. Sam van Verskuilen for SP Motorsport, now up to 7th. Enzo Boller's dropped from 3rd to 8th. With Tom Bracken, Nina Potov, Daniel Tenbach, Jarno Opmeer, Thierry Del Rey leading the way in KZ2 Masters in 13th. Siep Kuipers up 11 positions to 14th, ahead of Dion van Verven. Arthur Lehouk still currently running in 16th place, has dropped a grid position, started 15th. But if you saw what he did in Heat 1 yesterday, stormed his way through the field and took the race win. The gap between first and second at the moment was just over 7 minutes and 10 seconds remaining. Is just north of a second. But at the minute, Stahora is about a 10th quicker in the opening sector. It's very marginal between the two in sector 2. As Christian de Klein is now gunning for what is going to be 3rd place, because Charlie Turner in the 8.03 is just ahead of him as they go through the right-hander here at turn 10. So it looks like all 25 drivers are still circulating. Rune de Broek has had a bit of a race to forget. Started 13th, now 25th. And at the back end of the field, Stahora has pulled away from Jeffrey Fixer to the tune now of nearly 1.7 seconds. As Alibax was looking for a move up the inside of Troyer going through into turn 2. The 8.14 found the door closed very, very quickly. Now it's become a 4-kart race for the final position in the top 3. And Charlie Turner, his first weekend in KZ2 outside of the Motorsport UK British Kart Championships, has been doing a pretty sterling job so far. He did take the 2022 Motorsport UK title that year, but then loses out 3rd place because Christian de Klein saw Charlie Turner running wide and put the power down, coming through the sweeper at 8, ran halfway through the apex and got the job done. So Siep Kuipers is one of the drivers that has made the most moves so far up the order. Tom Bracken, in the meantime, has just dropped behind Jarno Opmeer, who's now up to 7th in the 8.02. Opmeer, current Mercedes AMG Esports Works driver. Van Verskuilen has dropped to 9th. Pothoff still rounds out the top 10 in the 8.33. But Stahora setting purple laps at the minute, just did a 1 minute 7.745. So the track is starting to evolve to a point where we could see a significant dry line on the circuit. From my vantage point, overlooking the majority of the circuit, apart from turn number 11, it looks to be the case that that is actually happening as we speak. Gap between first and second is now the best part of 2 seconds at this point. We've got coming up to about 4 minutes and 30, plus an additional lap still to go. So Stahora now crosses the line, completes lap 5. Gap between him and Fixer is nearly 2.5 seconds, and it is climbing all the while. de Klein is now pulled away from Charlie Turner and is 6 seconds off the race leader. Turner is a further 1.3 seconds behind, but has to watch out for the likes of Jens Troyer. Alibax has got to watch out for Opmeer in the 8.02, who's really closing in on his coattails, heading through turn 5 and into 6. So Opmeer could get the run down the Europalan. Looks over his right shoulder to see where Tom Bracken is, and Bracken is about 2.5 seconds behind him. And sometimes you can actually spot, like I did just there with Jarno Opmeer, that he went through out of turn 7, tried to put the power down. The back end stepped out to the right-hand side, but he caught it and was able to just get the kart to straight line. Jens Troyer in the meantime, in the 842, gets through on Charlie Turner for 4th place. That brings Alibax into it. Jarno Opmeer briefly deciding to hold back, but he goes and throws it towards the outside of turn number 12. This looks to be one of his opportunities that he will put it around the outside. It nearly caught him out, and it did catch him out yesterday. And I think Heat 2, where he actually went completely all 4 wheels off track. But using the switch back through at turn 2, this is another point where Opmeer manages to get the job done, and he's round the outside of Alibax, going through out of turn 3 and into turn 4, and that is Opmeer up to 6th place. Still got an opportunity to at least be P4 by the checkered, and that will put him from 16th on the grid up 12 places. So Alibax looking up the inside through turn 8. Opmeer keeps it planted to the outside and closes the door quite neatly into turn 9. Coming up to 2 minutes and 15 to go, plus an additional lap. Jarno Opmeer's next target is Charlie Turner. They all tread their way carefully through turn 10. Opmeer swings it towards the outside of the approach into turn 11. And now he's going to get the run on Charlie Turner. He's going to try and throw it to the outside once again. Will Opmeer have the job done? Not quite. Jens Troyer, in the meantime, is pulled away from the 803 and the 802. So the minute that Opmeer gets his way past, as long as Alibax has nothing to say about it, past on Charlie Turner, then allows him clear air, and then he can go after Jens Troyer. Kevin Stahore's lead now is nearly the best part of 3.5 seconds ahead of Jeffrey Fixer, Christian de Klein, Jens Troyer, Charlie Turner, Jarno Opmeer, Renzo Alibax, Tom Bracken, Dion van Verven, and Daniel Tenbach round out the top 10. As Opmeer again keeps it to the outside, it seems he's very comfortable with the CRG chassis at that point on the circuit, just keeping it to the outside, and he's able to put the power down in a more linear progression. And for those wondering, well, Opmeer is actually shifting up gears, trying to go, well, Alibax nearly went up the inside of him through turn number 11, as we've got less than a minute remaining on the clock. Our race leader is now making his way through down into turn 3. And you'll see at times, like, say, for instance, I just spotted Jarno Opmeer having the left hand of the steering wheel. The shifter column is on the right-hand side of the steering wheel. And just as demonstrated by Alibax just then, coming out of turn 3, accelerated, then shifted up. So they've got to pull back on the shifter lever to go up the gears and then push it forwards to go down the gears. So there is the 877 of Dion van Verven, who's stuck between Tom Bracken and Daniel Tenbach. This is the battle for 8th on the road. Great to hear from Chris Muller in the YouTube chat. Good morning, streaming this, watching this fine event from Norway. Well, thank you very much, Chris, for joining us. Timer has expired, and it looks like it is going to be 2 wins out of 3 for Kevin Stahore from the Netherlands in the 815, as Bracken very much being put under pressure by Dion van Verven from the Netherlands. This is the battle for 8th position. Van Verven opens the door there. That could allow Tenbach to get through. But Van Verven has enough presence of mind to put the power down and get the kart out of the corner. So we're underway with the final lap of the final heat of the Champions Winter Trophy for 2024. And our race leader is making his way through turn number 8. Battle still happening up and down the order, including this trio here with Tenbach. Lehouk looks to be catching them, the French driver, in the 809. He's currently running P11. But the checker flag will wave this time as our race leader, the 811 from the Netherlands, Kevin Stahore, comes out of the final corner and will win the final heat for KZ2 in fine style by a country mile here at the home of champions. Jeffrey Fixer takes second. Third, it's going to be Christian de Klein from the Netherlands. Fourth, Jens Troyer. Charlie Turner looks to secure fifth, ahead of Jarno Opmeer in the 802. Renzo Alibax takes seventh. Tom Bracken's going to win the battle for eighth by a whisker ahead of Dion van Werven and Daniel Tenbach, with Arthur Le Hook was very close on closing in on them. Nina Ponov takes 12th, and Thierry Del Rey from Belgium in the 902 wins KZ2 Masters in 13th overall. Gil Mertens 14th, ahead of Sam van Verskuilen. It wasn't the best race for the 819, was running in the top 10 and ended up dropping down a few positions. Zeep Kuipers ended up 16th, ahead of Mark Verhoeven, with Dirk van Silfhout, Mickey Bertram and Armin Piela rounding out the top 20. Bertram rounding out the top 3 in KZ2 Masters. Dan Zopfi, Rooney de Broeke, Cedric Collars, William Klooster, Enzo Boll round out the 25 drivers that made it to the checkered flag after 10 laps of racing. And that concludes the heats action for the Champions Winter Trophy.